thought I would do a relatively simple project this month for Gina's Designs. So we're going to alter this chipboard sentiment. I do believe there's a whole bunch of different ones. This one says dream, as you can see. And the very first thing that I'm going to do is assemble the pieces. So it's very, very easy. I'm using some tacky glue. Tacky glue is sort of my go-to. It's my favorite glue to use for these projects. But use whatever you're most comfortable with. Now you'll notice on the base there is a portion that has lots of space and a portion that has a narrow space. You could decide whichever orientation you would like to use. I want to put stuff behind my words, so I'm going to glue this in place this way with just the small, the short end at the front here. Once that glue is dried, I'm going to add some feet to this project, and I'm just using these large beads. So you could add feet afterwards. I think for what I have in mind, applying them first will probably be ideal for me. But again, just work how you're comfortable with. I'm simply giving a coat of black acrylic paint. I'm just using an expensive paint. This is it right here. And I'm just covering the entire project. Once my paint has dried, I'm going to apply this glittery finish. And I've had a few questions posed to me about how to achieve a really nice flat finish with glitter, and I'll show you exactly what I do. So the first step is to apply a layer of glue. And I am going to smooth this out so that it's a nice, flat, even layer, and that there's no big bumps or chunks. And I want to make sure that I have the whole area that I want glittered covered, because I do not want to go back to cover it again. If you need to go back and touch up, that's where you'll get your funky bumps and stuff like that. The next thing I do is literally just saturate the whole thing. I have a piece of paper beneath that'll catch all my excess glitter, so I'm not being wasteful and I'm really not being messy at all. The other thing that I think really helps is using a glitter that is ultra fine. I think when you use the chunkier glitter, it's harder to get a fine layer, and I think it comes off easier. That's just been my personal experience. I really like working with the ultra fine glitter. I find it adheres really well. You get really nice coverage and it stays put. So again, super flat layer. You want to make sure that it stays wet, that your whole area is covered, that you want to glitterify, and then just saturate that whole sucker. and you can tamp it off, and you have a really great smooth layer. The other thing to consider is trying to stay away from the sides if you don't want them covered. And that's really it. I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. You can see that I've taken some of these chipboard star elements and I've added some glitter to those as well. What I want to do is place this particular piece behind my word there to add a little bit of depth. What I'm going to use is this bamboo skewer, and I've just painted it black, and what I'm going to do is sort of guesstimate how big of a piece I want, and I'll use 2 pieces. I'm just chopping them with a pair of clippers, and I'm going to hold these in place with some hot glue. So what I'll do is place a couple of dabs of hot glue and then add these into place and just wait for those to dry, and it'll be a pretty sturdy, it'll provide some stability for my starry element there. I'm going to give it a pretty good dollop. And then I'll just hold these pieces into place upright until that glue sort of sets. And I've treated this design element, these stars, the same way that I treated the letters. I actually didn't paint the chipboard at all because that sort of that neutral color of the chipboard actually works really well with this gold color. If you find that your piece has lots of these little flyaway strands from your hot glue gun, what you can do is actually take a hair dryer or your heat gun and very quickly sort of blow over your piece, and it'll sort of clean up those little areas if it's really bothering you. What I would like to do at this point is to add a bit of a sort of decorative element to the edge here. And what I'm going to do is create a sort of striped border. When I paint stripes, what I do is take a flat brush, just like this. So you can see that the bristles are quite flat. They taper to the end, and it's sort of squared off. Here's a bigger version of a flat brush. So I don't want a rounded brush, I want a flat brush. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn this way for ease sake. I'm just going to dip that into some paint. You'll notice I just brushed the excess off on my hand. For me, that's the easiest thing to do. And then I'm going to place my brush down and just stroke away from the edge. So I have the brush lying flat and I'm brushing towards the edge. I'm brushing in one direction, and this sort of catches, make sure that you don't go, it helps you to not go under that edge. I just have a tiny bit of paint on here, and then I just sort of evenly space my stripes, and I just sort of keep going until the edges are somewhat straight. And that is how I create my striped edges. If you want your stripes perfect, by all means measure everything out. I'm a big fan of imperfection, so I don't mind if mine aren't exactly evenly spaced. I'm going to continue around the whole edge of my piece, but I think that's pretty much it.